Greetings and welcome to all flying monkeys and visiting sports fans of Johnny Cerrucci and his great work at johnnycerrucci.com. This is John Paul Harkins. I am the voice of the audiobook of Disciples of Ra, the shocking truth about medicine, viruses, and vaccines. You can check that out at Johnny's Odyssey channel. Today is November the 5th, 2022, and this is the first of hopefully a series of content mashups, which is an idea that has been in the works for a while. Another collaborator with Johnny, Vinny B. You may know him as a regular on the Podcraft with Kill a Priest. Vinny and I were talking about the news that actor Kit Harington is to play Robert Catesby in a new telling of the gunpowder plot that happened on the 5th of November in 1605. Catesby was a collaborator with Guy Fawkes, and Kit Harington, who famously played Jon Snow on Game of Thrones, has put together this project because he had some personal attachment to the figure in history, perhaps even a direct lineage.
I believe I am directly related to Robert Catesby. My middle name is Catesby. My mother's maiden name is Catesby. And that's where this whole idea came from, really. I thought, why has no one told this story? We know about Guy Fawkes. We know a bit about the gunpowder under Parliament, but we don't know about Robert Catesby, Thomas Wintour, Bates, the servant. We don't know about these other characters, and they're so fascinating that this would make a great drama. It's a story of persecution. It's a historical thriller. In some ways, it's some kind of like a chase movie. You know, I was involved from the very start. I understand now what they mean when they say it's my baby. It's, you know, I feel so proud of it, and I'm so thrilled we got it done. It still feels a bit like a dream to me, but I really enjoyed the process of making or being involved with decisions all along the way, and it gave me a sense of ownership over it, which I haven't quite found that level of as an actor, and it's given me in some ways a comfort about my performance and the whole production, which I've never really found as an actor either.
Anyhow, so Vinny and I were talking about the idea of creating these content mashup sort of highlight reels of Johnny's work and all the team briefs and interviews and any pertinent information, and try to make it topic specific. So with this news of a retelling of the famous gunpowder plot, formerly known as the Jesuit treason, we thought this would be a good subject to try to hone in on for our first mashup highlight reel. So without further ado, this is Johnny Cerrucci's take on the 5th of November.
V for Vendetta also goes into this same issue of who controls behind the scenes. If you're familiar with the story, the 1605 gunpowder plot, done by Jesuits, supposedly to murder Protestant King James I, with this ludicrous plot of filling the House of Lords, the basement of the House of Lords, with barrels of gunpowder, and then blowing up the entire House of Lords. You want to fight the machine, right? You want to go out and protest, but you want to do it anonymously. You're out in the protest. You're worried about a little mosquito drone coming in, taking a picture of your face. What do you go put on to cover your face?
That Guy Fawkes mask.
You put on a Guy Fawkes mask, don't you? Well, who's Guy Fawkes? Guy Fawkes is a Jesuit assassin. Guy Fawkes used to be Guido Fawkes, who was part of Remember, the 5th of November in 1605, was an attempt to murder the Protestant King of England, King James I, James VI of Scotland, by thoroughly covering the floor of the House of Lords in gunpowder, barrels of gunpowder, and taking out half the House of Lords in order to murder the Protestant king to gain back newly Protestant England for the papacy. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot, but it has been forgot that it was a Jesuit assassination attempt on Protestant King James I, and nobody knows that. In fact, when all the little kiddies want to go out and protest the machine, they put on a Guy Fawkes mask. Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit assassin. He was not, let me be specific, he was not an ordained priest, but he absolutely was a devout Roman Catholic who was handled and given up by the Jesuits. I believe I'm with the late Freddie Tupper Saucy on that. I think that the cold-blooded metaphorical reptilians that the Jesuits are realized that they had more to gain by giving up their own agents than by allowing the plot to attempt to go on or to partially succeed. It was much more effective, and as you look back, it was satanically effective. They gave those guys up. They were tortured and executed, and in grief as a response, England just fell all over itself to be inclusive. And so, mission accomplished. Unbelievable evil. Unbelievable evil. If you want to go up and make a stand and fight the machine, you're going to put on the face of a Jesuit assassin. Oh, and by the way, what's been known as Guy Fawkes Day has been a protest since that time where an effigy of the Pope was burned, particularly by good English Protestants. It has so been disconnected from its historical accuracy, no one even knows. And would you believe, and again, this is easy for any of the audience to look up, George Washington, who did George Washington answer to? Do you know that George Washington stopped his soldiers from conducting Guy Fawkes Day, which is to burn the Pope in effigy? He actually told his soldiers they needed to be thankful for their help, the papacy was giving them. Kind of tells you who he answered to.
Yeah.
A Guy Fawkes mask on an Egyptian sphinx is that people have no idea. You have kids all over the world, Sean, donning Guy Fawkes masks to maintain their identity and strike back at the machine. Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit assassin.
In 1606, the gunpowder conspirators were hung on the Tyburn Tree, culminating with Jesuit provincial Henry Garnet on the 3rd of May, in note 1400. Conflicting sources, perhaps for sympathy, claim Garnet was brutally drawn and quartered. Parliament.uk states definitively that only Guy Guido Fawkes was tortured for giving a false name, in note 1401. The gunpowder plot was likely a false flag within a false flag. Jesuits were supposedly attempting to kill the King of England, James I, by filling the basement of the House of Lords with gunpowder and blowing everyone up, Wile E. Coyote style. The problems are that James was a sexual deviant, in note 1402, and Freemason, in note 1403, who was thoroughly in the Vatican's back pocket. His mother Mary, Queen of Scots, had been a devout Catholic, and his son Charles was a closet Catholic. Both James and Elizabeth I were Protestants of convenience for the sake of their political power. They found that being Protestant helped loosen Rome's strangling grip on their authority. However, they were very pleased to burn alive real Protestants for taking their faith too seriously, in note 1404. It is a testimony to the success of Jesuit counterinsurgency operations that we who seek to resist tyranny have no idea that the tyranny comes from Jesuits, and so we don the mask of a Jesuit assassin to rebel against our Jesuit tyrants. Photograph page 662, the ubiquitous Occupy Wall Street V for Vendetta Guy Fawkes mask. The Disciples of Ra, Chapter 23, Invisible Assassin.
Now, this is at a time, this is a sect within Roman Catholicism, the Jesuits, who had learned their techniques of assassination. Assassins, De Laurentiis, Stallone, Banderas, Wachowskis, learned their trade from the Templars, from the Muslim assassins in the Middle East. It was once assumed that Catherine de' Medici murdered the mother, I think it was the mother-in-law of good King Henry of Navarre, by simply putting poison in her glove. Okay, this is the deftness. And yet you're going to kill James I by loading the House of Lords with barrels of gunpowder. Well, this is the impetus, supposed impetus for V for Vendetta. And also touches on very, very key players, a very important time in history. It doesn't really explain it much, but I would love to see probably the very same dynamic, Tom, of maybe full-on representatives of the Catholic Church feeding them these plots and saying, you're our go-to patsies. You got nothing. Let's go ahead and use you as the venue and the window for putting this out there.
That is exactly it. And look what Larry did with it too, to see Larry's nature tied into what you just shared. In Assassins, he took out the sympathetic central character, he took out the love story, and he added the violence.
Lastly, I just wanted to throw in that the original story that was told was certainly a Catholic and Jesuit plot against Protestant England. Whether or not it was a false flag within a false flag is up for debate, but The insinuation of the Catholic Church and the Jesuits has been all but forgotten and scrubbed from history and the internet. Famously in the movie V for Vendetta, the poem that is recited about the 5th of November, remember, remember, has its entire rhyme scheme changed to mostly include gunpowder in place of the word Jesuit. And looking into the issue, there are more than 18 versions of the old poem that were written and rewritten after the fact, probably to obscure and obfuscate the real issue and the real culprits. But I just wanted to read one of the versions of the poem that I have discovered through a difficult search on the internet. Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I'll tell you a reason why Jesuit treason should never be forgot. If there hadn't been given protection from heaven to the Parliament houses and throne, when the Pope to the flames had devoted King James, they had all to destruction been blown. Then ever let England her gratitude show to the power that averted that terrible blow. In thanksgiving to God our voices will raise, to him be the glory, to him be the praise. And thus was remembered the 5th of November, the Jesuit treason and plot. For should popery reign, we may have it again, so let Protestants say it shall not. Shout, boys, shout, let the ring bells ring, down with the Jesuits, and God save the King.